Mm. You did it again. I'm back. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Levi Clay here, back again for another listening party. And you know, this one is 100% for me. This one isn't for you. This one is for me. Though I'm sure some of you, many of you, will get some enjoyment out of this. I wanted to take some time to sit and listen to some music. And I know this sounds crazy, but that's what these listening parties are great for. They force you to sit down and listen to music. Do you remember when you used to do that when you were a kid? Remember when you were just a wee boy or a wee girl and a new album came out and you were so excited to sit and listen to it and you spent time sitting and listening to the record? They were good times, right? And I don't feel that we do that anymore. And I think it's such a shame that we don't do that anymore. And, you know, I work in music. I spend my days listening to music and writing it down. So I have music on all of the time. But I'm never really listening to the music. Let me rephrase that. I'm always listening to the music, but I'm never listening to music for enjoyment. I'm never listening to music that I want to be listening to for the experience of listening to music. You know what I mean? I spend all of my time just listening to music, like to go, okay, well, what's he playing there? Let me write that down. Let me get paid, and then we'll move on to the next job type thing. And because I'm so busy, you know, doing that work type of thing, I don't find the time anymore to just sit down and listen to a great record. So I want to do that tonight, and I want to share that experience with you. So if you are new to my listening party streams, and I would be surprised if any of you are at this stage, the concept is incredibly simple. You will find a link in the description to this video to both of these albums. We're going to listen to 2 albums today. They're both very short, like 30-minute albums, and you'll find links to them on Spotify. Go and link to them, check them out on Spotify. We will queue them up, we will listen to them together. I'll stress this, people don't seem to understand this. I can't play the music over the stream, okay? That'll be copyright infringement. That'll just get my video copyright struck immediately. Like, we don't want to do that. But listening to these records together is a great, fun experience. So I urge you, please do head to that link in the description. Head on over to Spotify or however else you choose to stream music. It could be on Tidal or what are the other ones? Apple Music. Maybe you own these on CD. I own one of these on CD. I don't own both of these on CD. So this is actually, I think, the first listening party I've done where I don't own the album. I own the albums on CD. So yeah, anyway, you can access these on Spotify via the link in the description. Please do head on over. We're going to be listening to Dregs of the Earth first. Yeah, you get the idea. So I'm going to, of course, stress this. These listening party streams are made what they are via your interaction, via your engagement. So if you're out there watching, if you're enjoying what's happening, please get involved in that comment section. It makes everything that little bit more enjoyable. As I say, I'm doing this because I want to listen to some music, but I also love engaging with you guys. It's a lot of fun. So Kirk Wammett is online. I'll call you by Kirk Wammett, shall I? Steve Morse. I bet this is going to have some mental guitar playing on it. Oh man, have you not listened to these records? Yeah, no, these really outrageously good guitar playing on these. And David Garrett, love the What If album. So I really, really, really enjoy the Dixie Dregs. I think they're a wonderful band, a really, really cool band. I'd even go as far as saying that I think Steve Morse is one of the most underrated guitar players on the scene. Like, it's hard when you use a term like underrated guitar player. What does that really mean, right? An underrated guitar player. Is an underrated guitar player somebody that nobody's heard of? Oh, I don't think so. I think you can be well known but also underrated. For example, Ed Sheeran, right? He's very well known. Let's say, for argument's sake, he was also an incredibly talented guitar player, like, you know, a shredder or a great jazz soloist or whatever. You know, we could then say that he is I forgot an unsung hero, underappreciated hero. I think Steve Morse kind of fits into that category because despite the fact that he has been, you know, at the peak of fame for years and years and years playing guitar for Deep Purple, he's actually been in the band Deep Purple now longer than Ritchie Blackmore was in Deep Purple. So that's, you know, he's definitely got some credit there. But I think when you say Deep Purple, you always think Ritchie Blackmore. I think that's what people always think. And Steve, even though he's been there longer than Ritchie, is just filling in Ritchie Blackmore's shoes. He's got a great list of solo recordings, Steve Morse, I mean. He's played in some wonderful supergroups, actually. The band Flying Colours, I think they're excellent. And yeah, before that, he was playing in a band called the Dixie Dregs. And I really like the band. I think it's a great showcase of what Steve can do. And yeah, hopefully you're going to listen to this album with me and you're going to enjoy it with me. Or albums, I should say. So let me just tell you a little bit about the Dregs. Let's bring this up. This is me just checking out the Wikipedia page. Actually, before I do that, let me just do my usual routine. Big thank you to my supporters over on Patreon. Thank you very much for your love, kindness, generosity and support. You make these streams possible. So if you'd like to check me out on Patreon, link in the description. Please do consider it. If you don't want to do that, head on over to Amazon. Take a look for one of my books. I have lots of them. And they keep a roof over my family's head. So if you would like to support the channel, that's a great way to do so. On with the show. This is me just looking at the Wikipedia page. Dixie Dregs is an American rock band from Augusta, Georgia. Formed in 1970 and one of the top jazz rock bands in the US. The band's instrumental music fuses elements of jazz, rock, country, and classical music. In the UK, they are best known for their recording Take It Off the Top, which was used for many years as the signature tune by disc jockey Tommy Vance for his BBC Radio 1 Friday Night Rock show. So they have an extremely long history, and I'm going to glance over this as fast as humanly possible. Right, the Dregs evolved from Augusta, Georgia, from a band called Dixie Grit, formed by Steve Morse and Andy West in 1970. The band featured Morse's older brother, Dave, on drums, Frank Brittingham on guitar and vocals, and Johnny Carr on keyboards. Carr was later replaced by Mark Parrish. Shortly after Steve Morse's enrollment in the University of Miami's School of Music in 1971, Dixie Grit was disbanded. Morse and West continued performing as a duet, calling themselves Dixie Dregs, the Dregs of Dixie Grit. That's where the name comes from. In 1973, Steve Morse and Andy West and Alan Sloan and Bart Yarnall met while students at the University of Miami School to play as Rock Ensemble 2. West also attended Georgia State University for a year while studying cello and music theory and composition along with Parrish. Parrish remained at GSU during the academic school years, only to return to Augusta, Georgia, during summer breaks. Re-establishing the guitar, bass, keyboard and drum quartet with Morse, West, Parrish and Gilbert Freya, performing as opening acts for concerts and headlining local gigs as the Dixie Dregs. During subsequent academic school years, the remaining members of the Dregs, including Andy West, returned to the University of Miami. Mark Parrish returned to Atlanta, Georgia, to complete his degree in music performance and composition at Georgia State University under the study of William Macelos, I believe that is, with additional studies of electronic music at Columbia University and New York City under Alice Shields, a protege of Wendy Carlos. So there's a lot of information there, right? A lot of information. But the point is, this is a band that's very much consists of a lot of schooled musicians, a lot of really schooled musicians, and I think that you can really hear that. You can definitely hear that in the way that they play, the way they approach. They do blend a lot of influences. They blend the classical music, which we talked about, with the country influences that you would expect from, guys that grew up in Georgia. But there's definitely a lot of jazz and a lot of rock going on with this band as well. They are a wonderful, wonderful band, and I'm really, really looking forward to listening to them with you. So I keep calling them the Dregs, and it's worth pointing out that for the album Unsung Heroes, which is the second album we're going to listen to today, released in 1981, the band changed their name to the Dregs in an effort to gain more of a commercial appeal. Violinist Sloan was replaced by Mark O'Connor. Winner of Nashville's Grandmasters Fiddle Championship for their 1982 release Industry Standard. So we're not listening to Industry Standard today, but we will be listening to Unsung Heroes, where technically they are called just the Dregs. But I'll always think of them as being Dixie Dregs. So let's see who else is online. Kevin Hoover, Steve's like Mike Neely and some sorts, in that musicians are well of their majesty and not the general public. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I totally agree with that. Steve has an amazing catalogue of work. Agree with you, James. Excellent choice. Thanks very much, Brent. And David Garrett says that Steve's alternate picking is insane, although I think he is at some brutal arthritis now. Yeah, I think that's the most tragic thing about time, right? That's the tragic thing about age. We all get ravaged by it. And Steve Morse is very much at that point where he's ravaged by age. And that's brutal, and that absolutely sucks. And I feel terrible for him. But also at the same time, I'm thankful. Not thankful that he's not comfortable, but I'm thankful that he has such a huge catalogue of work that exists that we can sit down and listen to and enjoy and have a great time and use it to transport ourselves back in time to, well, in this case, 1980. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to marvel in Steve's playing. Now, very much like I did with my Mike Stern stream, I want to take some inspiration from these tracks. So what I'm going to be doing is I have a notepad file open, and while listening to this album, if anything jumps out at me as being particularly cool, like really, like I wonder what he did there, I'm going to make a note of it, and then I'll come back to it at a later point and I will transcribe it, and then you'll expect to see a YouTube video on it, because that's how I work. I'm just looking for content, right? I should really say this stream is brought to you by Iron Brew, but unfortunately it isn't. Yay, Scotland. So I will be doing that. That's worth noting. So yeah, let me bring the album up on Spotify. Again, this is a listening party stream. In fact, I'll do this. This is a listening party stream. I cannot play you the music over the stream, but there is a link in the description where you can check this album out on Spotify. Please do queue it up and let's have a listen to it. Let's listen to it together and let's talk about it. Let's engage. Every single comment that goes in that comment box, I'm reading it, I'm engaging with you. Have fun, engage with your other users, and we'll have a good time, okay? Oh, actually, one last thing. This is very important. I keep forgetting that I'm supposed to do this, right? I'm just going to bring up my Discord server. I'm going to create an invite. Get rid of the Discord server. If you have not joined us on Discord yet, there is a link posted in the description. Come and hang out. It'd be a great place to talk about these albums after the stream. You know, we can talk more about the Dregs and other bands. Have a good time. Okay? So join us on Discord. Free to join. Great place to hang out. Good people. So what have we got there? Nicola says, keep in mind that Steve has had fractures in both wrists, so it's not the only guitar playing damage yet. Us old farts can still rock out, just have to adapt, yeah. Yeah, it is the reduced sugar version, unfortunately, Kirk. Yeah, so, right. Let me cue the album up. We got the album up. So like I say, this is, in fact, I'll tell you what, why don't I just look into this album? Give you any important information. I don't suppose this. I don't suspect there is any important information about it. Give me a second. Yep, so looking at the Wikipedia page for the album, all it says is Dregs of the Earth is an album by Dixie Dregs. It received a Grammy nomination for Best Rock Instrumental Performance. But none of them won a Grammy, and there's literally no other information on the album aside from that. And that's really interesting when you consider some of the albums that we've listened, even like the Brecker Brothers albums, that when we listened to those, there was more information on Wikipedia on the Brecker Brothers albums than there are on the Dixie Dregs, which is, yeah, fine, fair enough. According to AllMusic, though, they did give it a 3.5 stars. Yeah, all tracks written by Steve Morse. No other credits, no other songwriting credits. Yeah, Steve Morse, Andy West, Alan Sloan, Rod Morgenstein, and T. Lavitz playing. Make sense? What is Darren sending me? Okay. Right. Let me make sure everything is queued up and that everything's going to work when I hit play. That's kind of important. Okay, cool. So hopefully some of you got this queued up. We're going to listen to the song Road Expense. We're going to hit play on this in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. The thing I find with the Dregs is everything is worth learning. Just immediately, that first guitar part there is just like, I'll learn that. Great riff. I think they're a great example of how to effectively use piano in a rock band. I love Steve's melodies. He just has such great attack on the instrument. I was never a fan of his vibrato growing up, but I appreciate it now. The solo in just about every song is insane, Nicola. Now, for anyone that hasn't listened to the Dregs before, I think it's a shame that we haven't had any violin yet. It's a big part of their sound. So I know I wanted to bring him on, but this was a quite impromptu stream. Steve Morse was a huge influence on Martin Miller. Here we go. So a little bit of violin there. Unison with violin and guitar there. It's interesting how well the guitar and the violin in unison work with each other. Okay, so that's Road Expense. Cool track, very dramatic, very representative of what the Dregs are about, I think. Okay, Pride of the Farm. So now immediately throwing ourselves into country territory. It's our classic train beat. I've been practicing those all month. Now, don't sleep on this, right? The melody that's happening there, the unison between the violin and the guitar, that's hard. I need to do something with my hair. It's getting out of control. I vowed to not cut it until this quarantine's over. Oh, great lick. It's jazzy as hell. All these changes. He's hitting the progression beautifully. I love those train beats. Amazing how much life you can get out of just your snare drum. So you've got that faux pedal steel thing in the background. I assume that is Steve on the guitar, rather than being an actual pedal steel, because when you look at Steve's effects rig that he plays with, it's actually incredible, Steve's effects rig. Or at least back in the day it certainly was. That really pleases me. So Nicola says, this album and Unsung Heroes are probably the only two albums in the world where I can not even listen to it and still know exactly which moment you're describing. Those are the two albums we're listening to. And I felt bad for that because I felt like I should be listening to Freefall, which was the first album, or Night of the Living Dregs, those are definitely the better known albums, I think. But I love these two albums. It's really annoying because that's the type of thing that I would write down and I'd say, that's really cool, I want to transcribe this and learn this. But I know that I can't play that. I can't play that. There's no way that I can play that. Again, I'm just going to say it. Train beats, man. I fucking love train beats. Incredible. Well, I don't know if I can agree with that, Taylor. Not because he's not a good acoustic guitar player, but because he's an incredible electric guitar player. Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. Twigs approved. Is that tapping on the bass there? So I have to assume that's like a distorted electric guitar in the background over a clav in the middle there. Beautiful unison. Could be wrong on it being a clav, but not guitar in the middle. That violin just does such a lovely job of like adding a top line to those chord punches. Really cool. What a fucking picker, man. Oh, I don't doubt that, David. Yeah, no doubt in my mind that Herring is influenced by Steve. They're from the same area as well, right? Oh, okay. No, Jimmy was born in North Carolina. For some reason I thought he was Georgia. Oh, I'm talking about Steve Morse was born in Ohio, so you don't get enough violin players with, playing with guitar players. I assume that's Steve playing slide guitar there. I assume. I could be totally wrong, but, it really sounds like slide guitar to me. And lots of harmonica imitation. How's it going, Philip? You a fan of the Dixie Dregs, these particular albums? So I like this. This so far is probably my favourite track. Pride of the Farm I like, but I kind of take songs like that as being a bit tongue in cheek. This is like really progressive. There's a lot going on in this song. Great picking. You could listen to just about any Dixie Dregs song there, and there's going to be a moment where I'm just going to stop and go, great picking. Wow, great picking. Love those unisons. Oh, Philip, crazy cool stuff. Okay, so Twigs approved. Moving on to Hereafter. There's some of that acoustic guitar playing that was mentioned earlier. I suggest that you listen along with us, man. That's the point. No on. Hi, May. And maybe it's the rocker in me, but songs like this are always a bit delicate. Intros like that, delicate, and too much acoustic stuff. It just turns me off a little bit, to be honest. I'm in the mood to rock. I wanna rock. Fretless bass, yep. Richard, how's it going, brother? This is very much like a composition. I know. I appreciate it might be difficult to understand what I mean when I say this is very much a composition. Like, of course, everything that is here is a composition, but this seems more like a classical exploration, like how would I put it? Kind of exploration is the right way of putting it. It's exploring what's possible. It's following the harmony and seeing where you can go with things. I would imagine, Alec, that he probably comes up with riffs that happen to be in odd time signatures. I think when, the concept of an odd time signature, only exists to us when we spend enough time in 4/4 that anything else seems and feels odd. But when you go out of your way to only surround yourself with odd time signatures, well, none of them feel odd. You know what I mean? Like it's more a case of 4/4 just doesn't feel like the norm, or doesn't feel like it has to be the norm. It would be what I'd say, but that's what I would say in terms of speculation. Twigs Approved was a tribute to Twigs Linden, who was a big fan of the band and went on tour with them and also fought to get them on many other shows. Oh, that's cool. The violin is a beautiful instrument when it's played well. The problem with the violin is it's so easily to play it badly. That's probably a really good way of putting it, James Taylor. Yeah. You couldn't just jam this out. And then although Twigs Approved and Road Expense has a lot more to it than just a jam, there still feels like a lot of jamminess to it, you know? Not really, no on. Nobody should ask me for technique advice. My technique's dreadful. I won't even teach my students technique. I'll teach them music, but not technique. So that track's not really for me. There's still 2 minutes of it left. This track is not really for me. Lots of layering. Very reflective. I mean, I'm feeling very reflective today, you know? Hey, -7 sharp 5's on. How's it going, brother? That's a cool lick. Steve's chromatic lines are actually really interesting because they're the complete opposite of how I study and teach chromatic lines. He does a lot of filling in the blanks, which is what Petrucci teaches as being, you know, the way to introduce chromatic stuff into your playing. Because it's such a fundamental approach, such a fundamental approach in Steve's style, it doesn't sound out of place. When I try and slot one of those chromatic lines into my playing, they sound like I've forced it in there. Okay, the Great Spectacular. Well, we're going to be listening to Unsung Heroes after this, Nicola, so... Blistering bass playing there. He just has such a cool writing style. And I find myself listening to a melody like this and going, is it violin? Is it guitar? Is it violin and guitar? It's just so well pieced together. I mean, it's both, but they complement each other so well. It's like the guitar mutates the violin into something completely different, and the violin mutates the guitar into something completely different. And the other thing we have to remember, or at least I like to draw attention to, is the time. This was 1980. You know, this is old. This is pre-Malmsteen. Not that Malmsteen's like a measuring stick. I tend to measure things in my mind in terms of pre and post Van Halen. Like, this is post Van Halen, yeah, sure, I'll give it that, but it's pre-Malmsteen. It's just easy being a rock guy like me to grow up looking at all of the shrapnel era shredders and using those as a measuring stick for when technique was really pushed. But then you remember there are guys like Steve Morse and John McLaughlin and Uli John Roth that they would... 230, we'll write that down. Sometimes a lick is so cool that you just have to stop and go, yeah. Yeah, Joe Lang, it's Post Mahavishnu. I meant to say McLaughlin in that little speech that I was given 2 seconds ago before that guitar grabbed me. I hope I did. You could think of the Dregs as being like a slightly more country rock version of Mahavishnu. That was a great solo. That was really good. That was a great, spectacular solo. Okay, we're now on Broad Street Strut. So, Nicola, you are now coming across as the uber Dregs fan. I admire this. I respect this. So, okay, Nicola, why don't you help us out then? So, what I'm going to say is we're listening to 2 Dregs albums. We're listening to Dregs of the Earth, and we're listening to Unsung Heroes. These are short albums. Why don't you give us 5 more Dregs songs that don't fall on these 2 albums that you think everyone has to listen to? And I'll play them afterwards. We'll listen to those too. It's just like unmistakable Dixie Dregs, isn't it? There's... Oh, I've run out. Oh, fucking violin, man. It's so good. I would have loved to have my wife in for a stream like this, but I love this band too much to sit here for an hour while she tells me that they suck. I'm too fragile to take it. Great tone. And I assume this... I mean, I guess Nicola would be the guy to ask, but I assume that this would have been all on his old modified telly. I'll bring that up for anyone unfamiliar. Refried Funky Chicken. Oh yeah, that's a great track. A man of culture. Look at that machine. Outrageous. This is a man that knows that he needs a lot of different tones. And he's worked out ways that he can get them. All-time respect. Much admiration. Very cool. So then when you look at his Music Man, like suddenly all the pickups on that make a lot more sense, right? Okay. Moving on to I'm Freaking Out. So this is a long song, 9 minutes. 9 minutes. Levi Clay, famed for his fragility. Ice Cakes. I could just put Steve Moore solo albums on after this. I could just, stream Steve Morse all night and just be really happy, have a great time. I'm not sure when he got the Music Man, Joe. When was that? As much as I'm always, fascinated with the history side of these things, the reason I am fascinated with the history is because I wasn't there, This album came out in 1980. This is 8 years before I was born. I didn't listen to Steve Morse until he'd been in Deep Purple for years by the time I started listening to Steve Morse. So it's not like, when I was a fan and then one year his Music Man got announced and I can remember back when that happened. You know what I mean? Music Man was 88, okay. So Steve Morse has been playing his Music Man as long as I've been alive. Oh, Richard and Nicola are disagreeing. And now they're agreeing. So I always loved the blue Steve Morse singers. I'm not such a fan of the purple one. There was a gentleman by the name of Dominic that I went to university with that had one, and he was a great player. Still is a great player. And I always wanted one. Not based on Dominic playing one, but I'm a sucker for signature guitars. I really am. Unison guitar, like riff and violin, beautiful. Getting funky. I think that's the other thing I have to say about Steve. Like not only is he fabulously talented, and supremely underrated, he's also incredibly unique. Incredibly unique. He's instantly recognizable. I'm not sure what that means, Peter. Oh shit, yeah. Sorry, I forgot that. I suppose, yeah, that happens on a Thursday. My wife does it once a week, and it annoys the hell out of me. Oh shit, yeah, he played on the Power album, Kansas's Power. I love that record. That's a great record. Yes, -7 sharp 5. I would absolutely argue that Steve Morse is underrated, and I explained why at the start of the stream. You won't have been here. So to me, when I'm thinking about someone that's underrated, it doesn't mean that you have to be unknown. You can be a well-known person but still be underrated, right? Steve Morse is known for playing in Deep Purple. He's played in Deep Purple for longer than Ritchie Blackmore played in Deep Purple, right? So he has this gig in Deep Purple, and I think people just think of him as that guy that plays Ritchie Blackmore's part in Deep Purple, right? But he is so underrated when you consider what he's actually capable of. Like when you look at his musical output, what this man has done, what he's capable of, is so far beyond what he does in Deep Purple, and I don't think enough people know and appreciate that. So based on that, that's why I would say he's underrated. I would say he's one of the most underrated guitar players. I would have loved to have heard Eric Johnson in the Dregs. That would have been cool as shit. Oh, as I was saying with Kansas, yeah. So when I started getting into Steve Morse when I was in probably just when I started college, um, I went back and found all the things that he played on, and the first thing that I saw was that he played on a Kansas record, and I was like, holy shit, I have to get that. At -7 #5, if I draw it over to someone like Frank Gambale, because I know we always talk about Frank, right? Um, I would say that Frank is, underappreciated. I think Frank deserves more appreciation for the thing that he does. But I don't think he's underrated. I think everybody that knows who Frank is, they know how good he is. But that's it. John Petticoats is that's what I'm going to call John Petticoats for all time now. Bingo. Yeah, absolutely, James. I'd fully agree with that. I would say that Kiko is supremely underrated. In fact, I did say that when we listened to his record. I mean, all the proof that you need that Kiko is underrated is when he got the gig with Megadeth. Tons of people were just like, who? Or who's don't care. Whereas when Kiko got that gig with Megadeth, I was like, holy shit, this is great. Kiko's incredibly good. Why am I talking over all of this? Question is, how underrated is John Petticoats? So Eric Johnson is a guy that I would put in that kind of Frank Gambale category of he's good, but everybody that knows he's good, knows who he is, already knows how good he is. I think Frank and Eric both fit into that category of they deserve. How would I put it? I don't want to say they deserve to have been more successful than they are, because they are successful, Um, I think they deserve to maybe have a bigger following. Beast. I actually, based on that, I think Eric Johnson. I think we underestimate how good Eric is, because I know that Eric was one of Sean Lane's favorite players. Eric is really good. just, just like ripping out the classical now. Shit, it's turned into Blackmore's Night. What a supreme command of the instrument this man has. I actually really like this track. This isn't very rock, but I think the guitar part in this is so cool, and it's complemented so well by that violin. Can I say violin? Should I say fiddle? Just that little, just Wonderful classical guitar, and that pizzicato violin part over there, just, oh. I assume I've probably seen that clip, Alex. Yeah, Alec, sorry. What a belter. So I'm going to stop that now. I'd honestly have to say that Old World, while that wasn't a track that really stood out to me when I was younger, that I got a lot more appreciation for that track now. That's probably like my second or probably third favourite track on the album, actually. I think The Great Spectacular is the unrivaled winner on that. Unrivaled winner. I would probably say The Great Spectacular, Twigs Approved, Road Expense, Old World, I'm Freaking Out, Pride of the Farm, Broad Street Strut, Hereafter. That's probably the order I'd put those tracks in. But yeah, great record. Great record. Okay, cool. Take a little bit of a break, and then we will head on over and listen to Unsung Heroes, the band's 1981 effort. And so on my Patreon page, I'm going to do this. On my Patreon page, link in the description, I can't remember when it was. Actually, I'll find out. Way back in, let's find out. I'll give you an exact time when this was. Patreon. Where is my Patreon thing? Back order. Oh, wow, it might have been so far back that I didn't even store it in. I might not have even stored this in that Patreon folder. So I called it something else. Holy shit. Okay, so I can't even locate it. I'll have it somewhere. It will definitely be in somewhere. But a transcription challenge, like very early on in my Patreon, was the track off of this album, I'll Just Pick. I'm sure that was for Patreon. Let me find it. I know I've got it somewhere. I don't throw my transcriptions away. Just Pick. Nope. Pick. I must have called it wrong. I've called it I'll Pick This. Maybe. Check that's the right track. Yeah. So I'll bring this up actually so you can see this. Do this. This was transcribed from my Patreon like years ago. That alone is a fucking challenge, and I dare anyone to learn that. That's great fun. But then this. What else happens in this track? Oh, there'll be a solo in here and everything. Wow. Yeah. I kind of feel like I'll go back and check that now because there's things in there I go, that can't be right. Surely it's not playing it like that. Get the idea. So I know this album well, and I would like to think that if you've been with me on Patreon for a long time, you will like this record too. You'll certainly remember some of this because we talked about this a lot way back then. In fact, I'll be able to tell you when that was, won't I? Shit, where was that? That would have been back in June 2017. So getting on for 3 years ago, we did this. It's been 3 years since I've had a Dixie Dregs moment on Patreon. Right, let me see what comments I've missed. Give you guys an opportunity to go and queue this album up on Spotify. Link in the description. It's the second link. Please do check it out. Again, that's what makes these streams fun. Your engagement. Do this while I'm doing it. So right, what we got? Play with Eric Johnson. Yep. Singing Spanish Castle Magic. Before I'm Freaking Out, be your jam. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I like it. I like I'm Freaking Out, and maybe I was on the spot. I mean, I wasn't on the spot. No one asked me. I just decided I was going to put them in order, and it's very hard to just go, oh, this will be the order I put them in. To be fair, I talked a lot through I'm Freaking Out, so I've lost. I didn't listen to a lot of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Philip Popper says, just curious, do you use the low cut and high boost on your SM7B, or do you leave it flat? That's a good question. I'm using the low cut. Okay, right. Hopefully y'all got this album queued up. We're going to start it and listen to the track Cruise Control, which is one of their old songs, right? That's on Freefall. Yeah. So Cruise Control originally on Freefall, but another version on Unsung Heroes. Right. Are we good to hear this? What am I getting the holy fuck for now, Joe? I am going to listen to this in 10, 9. Oh, no. Turn my desktop volume down or you're going to get the stream. Try that again. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Fucking love this track. Yeah, just fucking driving bass. Expert keys parts, you know, but with a guitar that complements them. Just trademark Steve Morse, right? Guitar, violin, fucking wonderful. Oft. Yes, this might be the track that I would probably play first for somebody that's never listened to the Dregs and I'm trying to get them into the band, because it's definitely still rock, you know. Absolutely outrageous. Much respect for it, though. Yeah. Well, you say that, Philip, right? Back when bands would release full-length albums every year, these albums aren't even 40 minutes long. These are short. Now when bands release albums, they're like over an hour. Beautiful. So this is from the era where they'd renamed themselves just the Dregs. That's interesting. This 1979 live concert, Stranger Than Paradise, has been released under Dixie Dregs with 2 Gs. Why the fuck has it got 2 Gs in the name? And those drums, they're just real, you know? And I don't mean that they're not programmed. I mean the pulse, like that's the drummer that's just going mad. He's just having fun. Oft. Oh. That vibrato. I actually love it now. Okay, so -7 sharp 5. What is it that you don't dig about the Dregs? Not that I'm trying to, obviously not that I'm trying to convince you that you should dig them. It's just, that's the point of these streams. Find things you like, find things you don't like, but you can always explain why you like something or why you don't. It's beautiful, clean, like pretty. What a pretty melody. Dainty. That's a tricky little guitar part there, isn't it? Yes. I could say that on the last album, there maybe wasn't enough Steve soloing. We're 2 tracks into this and we're getting 2 Steve solos. Not often I really listen to a key solo, but I dug that. There's nothing wrong with that. -7 sharp 5. If that's like, I think the worst people in the world are people that try and convince you that the way you feel isn't the way you feel, you know? Because everything you mentioned there is kind of the thing that I really dig about them. I think that's the thing that always got me really excited about the genre fusion, like fusion music. This is fusion. Fusion shouldn't just mean a very specific blend of jazz and rock. Fusion is a genre of music where you're bringing lots of different influences together, and ultimately nobody should sound the same. No fusion band should sound the same. If you're a fusion band that sounds like another fusion band, are you really a fusion band, or are you just a Guthrie Govan tribute band? Like, you should be bringing your own influences to the table, and I love that, like, the Dixie Dregs and Mahavishnu sound so different. Marching drums. Okay, so we're heading into I'll Just Pick. So this is like the picking showcase. Well, this can kick your ass. It really will. This is great. And there's a very definite swagger to that. You know, it's not swung, but it's not straight. It could be any fusion guy. Like I know lots of guys that sound like Tom Quayle clones, or they sound like Greg Howe clones, or Tom Quayle is a product of his influences. I don't want to name any names, but if you're a product of your influences, and your influences consist of 100% Tom Quayle, like what have you really done? And you got guys like Jack Gardner, they're a product of his influences, with Tom Quayle being one of those, because Tom was his teacher. I like that rhythm guitar part. That's really cool because he's playing the like bass chord stab, boom, bum, bass chord, but I love quoting. I love it when guys quote melodies like that in the solos because it just shows you the playfulness of music, right? So he lets the notes ring out as well. It's just add the piano. Erotic Cakes, I think, was 2006. Peter. Sorry, I read Nicola's comment first. It's funny, right? Because I remember when Erotic Cakes came out because I was looking forward to it coming out. No one cared. No one cared when that album came out. It was not a big deal. It wasn't until a year and a half, 2 years later, when the Jam Track Central videos came out, that then suddenly everyone started caring about what Guthrie was doing. And that's when Fusion was invented. Fusion, everybody knows, Fusion, Jazz Fusion was invented when Jam Track Central posted the Larry Carlton Jam video. That was the day and date that Fusion was invented. Everything before that didn't exist. And then, of course, there was the video of him playing fives, and that was the benchmark that nothing has ever come close to, before or since. Okay, I dig that track. I like that track. Give me that 12 string. He's messaging me on Facebook. I like this song too, Nicola. It's very how would I put it? It's very soulful. Probably the word I'd use. There's a lot of tenderness in the melody. Dynamic range, you know what I mean? It ebbs and flows. It builds and I've given that roast about Guthrie many times over the years. Oh, don't forget that Troy Grady invented downward pick slanting. If anyone's posted anything on the Discord server. I see Joe commented. Zero, you're really, really fucking late to the party, mate. I don't think you should be here, Zero. I know how much, the gypsy jazz thing has had an influence on you. Who else? I don't even remember now. Oh, Mike Stern, yeah. The last thing we need is another huge influence for you. And Philip, the danger with what you've said there, like I agree with you, but you don't want to become the get out of my yard guy. You don't want to be get off my lawn, the old boomer. We should celebrate the innovations in music and also respect the history of where it's come from. Admire, enjoy where things have come from. I think when you were young and listening to like the Dixie Dregs, I don't think you automatically went, well, just because I like this, I need to appreciate where this came from and where that came from before that and where that came from before that. You know what I mean? There you go. Steve's a blues guitarist. Stern is the fucking best, man. I think it's pretty fair to say that if you've not studied Thomas Tallis, that you're not allowed to use chords in music. Certainly not big chord voicings and voice leading and shit like that. Like, no study Tallis, no chords. Not that I'm suggesting Thomas Tallis invented chords. That's literally what I do for a living, Chiller Productions. Nice lick. I mean, don't even play a non-diatonic note unless you've studied Schoenberg's music. If you can't name all the key composers from the Second Viennese School, then you've got no right to play outside notes. Martin was like really influenced by more Petrucci than Gilbert. He's definitely studied Petrucci a lot more than Gilbert. But there's definitely Gilbert in there, yeah. Yeah, Chiller Productions. My website is leviclay.com. There's a contact form on my website. Ugh. Nice. Need the big harmonies. Nice. No worries, Chiller. Yeah, that was cool. Okay, Attila the Hun. We're getting that fast strum. Maybe a bit frantic for me. I can feel the stress of having to play that on rhythm guitar. It's fast. My favourite drummers. Wow. Dave Garibaldi. I would have to say Dave. Um, so I'm just having my head taken off by this. That was nice. Yeah, Dave Garibaldi. Who would jump out to me as being like Dennis Chambers? Definitely Dennis Chambers. I've listened to a lot of Dennis Chambers over the years. Dave Weckl. Um, yeah, I like a lot of Dave Weckl. I've seen a lot of Dave Weckl live. Um, it's kind of like cliche, more modern, progressive guys, like Virgil Donati. I liked a lot of Dave Weckl music. I like a lot of Virgil Donati's music. There's a record that I was listening to recently. What is it? Looking for the name of this record. I think it's Pocket Change. Yeah, Pocket Change. So there's an album called Pocket Change by Nate Smith. Nate Smith is a really cool drummer, and the thing I really like about that record is it's pretty much all drums. Like, it's just about grooves, rather than melody. I think that album's really, really cool. Right, what am I missing? Would Gary Husband be in that list? Probably not. Not in terms of like big influences. Steve Smith, I'd have to tip that to Steve Smith. And Gad. Marco Miniman's a great drummer, yep. It's just been drawn to my attention. Bobby Jarzombek plays in Spastic Inc. And some of the early Ron Jarzombek stuff. Benny Greb. Benny's a great drummer. The thing I would have to say about drummers, right, is I love drums. Like, I love drums. You don't need to be good for me to love you, or you certainly don't need to be exceptional for me to love your drumming. Like, I grew up in the metal on the metal thing, right? So, like, I love Joey Jordison's drums. I love his drumming. Just absolutely ridiculous, his drumming on those first few Slipknot records. when he left the band and Jay took his place, like I looked at that and was like, oh, this isn't Joey. So I never gave him the time of day, but just recently, because I'm doing a Slipknot cover video that I'm working on, I went and watched some drum cam footage of Jay live playing Unsainted. He's fucking great. And it just made me appreciate that great drummers don't always need to stand out for you to realise how great they are. Bobby with the cymbals one, yeah. Billy, I've certainly listened to a lot of Billy. I don't know if I'd say that he's one of my favourite drummers. Oh, I love that vibrato now. It's that's really interesting. How I've really come around to Steve's vibrato as the years have gone on. Might be my favourite solo on the record. This is a good solo. Something about the phrasing there just really worked for me. Yeah, I'm working on some Toto at the moment as part of my drum study, which is like Jeff Porcaro on the early stuff there, and he's to the point. He knows what he's doing. He sticks to what works, and he does that, and that works for me. I can probably think of more great drumming on records where I can't even tell you who the drummer is. You know what I mean? Because they've just pinned the song down so well. Go for Baroque. I'm just one of those guys that can play the super straight ahead. I don't know why I'm thinking of Jeff for this, but we'll go with that for now. Play super straight ahead, appropriate rock stuff, but can get jazzy if he needs to. But then you've got like Steve Smith. That's a guy. Like, I remember watching, like him doing all these stuff in Journey, and then seeing like Vital Information, and then watching some of the Modern Drummer Festival stuff. And there was a really cool video of him just playing Salt Peanuts. I can't remember who he was playing it with now, but it's just him and this other guy, and they're just brushes and a snare drum each, and they're having so much fun. There's all these great drummers that have played on things where you like don't even think of them as being great drummers, but like Ringo Starr, right? No one thinks of Ringo Starr as being a great drummer, but I appreciate his drumming. Butch Trucks in the Allman Brothers. I don't even know who plays drums in the Tedeschi Trucks band. So you've got two drummers. But when I listen to like Midnight in Harlem, I can sing that drum groove to you because it's such a great groove. It's really, really nice, delicate classical guitar playing from Steve on this. Doesn't make me want to go back to playing classical guitar though. I can assure you that. Lovely. Is all the writing credits on this album down to Steve? Let's have a look. Yeah, all tracks were written by Steve Morse. Not familiar with Lamel Lewis, no. Lars Ulrich, great example of that, actually. Yeah. I don't like his drumming in Metallica. Like, I think you could put someone better in that band. But also, he's still the drummer in Metallica, therefore he's great. This is super dramatic now, isn't it? There we go. Nice Tears to Piccadilly at the end there, yeah. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do is we are going to go back through Nicola's suggestions. We're going to listen to The Bash. We're going to listen to Bloodsucking Leeches. We're going to listen to Country House Shuffle. We're going to listen to Take It Off the Top. And we are going to listen to Freefall. I go through them like this. There was me thinking The Bash was on Freefall. Apparently it's not. Of course it's on Night of the Living Dregs. Okay, so I'm going to listen to The Bash. You'll have to find this one yourself. I'll give you a second to find it. It's on Night of the Living Dregs. Give you 30 seconds to pull on over to that. And then we can listen to that. I'll tell you what, I'm going to copy these down. That's been fun. It's definitely been fun just listening to two records, and they're short records, right? It just makes it easy to do, doesn't it? I would like to think that everybody has got The Bash. So I personally, like, The Bash is one of the Dregs songs that I'm not crazy about, because it's what I would describe as quite cheesy, but you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to hit this play on this in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, or I transcribed this for someone at some point. Oh, don't get me wrong. Yeah, it's absolutely quintessential Dregs. It's just I like this section. There's no doubt that it's quintessential Dregs, but everything that Minor 7 Sharp 5 talked about in terms of the things that he doesn't like about the Dregs. I don't like it when they go full on into the country thing, because while they are of that heritage, it's hard for me to listen to this and think of it as being anything other than a pastiche. I'm not embracing the discipline, Peter. So I used to. I am a studied and trained classical guitar player. That was where my first music lessons were on. And I did that all through college. But the discipline just ruined it. It kind of sucked all of the music out of it and made it all about the art and the technique. I was too rock and roll when I was in college. So I hung up my classical guitar and I've never played again. I'm sitting and thinking that crowd sound there. What's the deal with that? There are definitely some cool licks in these trading fours. Trading twos, then trading ones. So what year is this record? 78 maybe? 79. Okay. So now we're going to cue up the song Blood-Sucking Leeches off of Industry Standard. This is the record that Mark O'Connor plays fiddle on. Mark O'Connor, ridiculously good fiddle player. Also a really good guitar player. Bastard. He has a great record called Markology that I would recommend you check out if you want to see some of his guitar playing. Anyway, so I'm going to hit play on Blood-Sucking Leeches on Industry Standard in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there it is, look. Stranger Than Paradise. Dregs with 2 G's in it. I'm surprised you didn't put Fried Funky Chicken in that list. Or just Night of the Living Dregs. It was a great track. Punk Sandwich is a great track. So been a lot more rock, almost metal. That's true. 5 tracks is not enough to make a good Dregs playlist. What you want to do is do what I do over here and create a playlist for the band. Why did you pick this track, Blood-Sucking Leeches? I mean, it's a great riff. Stank face on that. That's some tone there, isn't it? It's like great lick. Tone and a half bend. Nice. You describe that as with all the beans. Played with all the beans. That's fair. This is a nice break from recording guitars all night. I've got to record guitars for the rest of the night now. I'm in one of those. I've been recording guitars and doing so many low bends on the low E string that my finger's starting to blister up, which is a bitch. Okay. On to Country House Shuffle, which can be found on Night of the Living Dregs. I am going to press play on that in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, I don't know what I'm saying like an idiot. 1. Long time since I've listened to this. After this, we had to take it off the top. Why do I think that's on that record? Why do I not know what record Take It Off the Top's on? Huh. Oh shit. What If isn't on Spotify, so that's disappeared off our list. Of course, yeah, because I'm looking through this and I'm like, Ice Cakes as well, but yeah, Ice Cakes is on What If. What If isn't on Spotify. I'm really starting to change my opinion on Spotify. Like, I love Spotify. It's amazing because it gives you access to so much. Doing a listening party like this just wouldn't be possible 10 years ago. You just assume that everything's there, and for some reason, inexplicably, it just isn't. It makes no sense to me why all of these records would be on here apart from that one. And it's like the same when you look at Michael Brecker's solo discography. Why are his first 2 albums not on Spotify? No, Full Circle's not on Spotify either. It's actually the main reason I've not done a Michael Brecker listening party, because I'd want to listen to his first record and it's just not there. It just doesn't make any sense. I actually don't think I've listened to Full Circle, if I'm honest with you. So after this, we're heading on to the track Freefall from the album Freefall. And then that'll be us for the night. That's some outrageous tone from Steve. Just like kick you in the balls tone. There you go. And then finally, we're going to listen to Freefall. So I'm going to press play on Freefall from the album Freefall in 5, 4, 3, 2. What a great place to end things. Iconic riff and the violin in this. That riff underneath is so cool. I'm sure that's guitar, but the tone on it is just makes it sound like a clav. It could, I mean, it's entirely possible that is actually a clavinet, but really good. That pinch harmonic. It's not, is it? It's you don't want to see that. I've just lost the YouTube page. I'm just trying to bring you back. There you are. This is just so, because this is 1977, it just feels that little bit more experimental, you know what I mean? Again, this is that pre-Van Halen category of time, and that's how I measure things. And it really is just so far removed. I guess what I'm getting at is, like, when I was younger and I was introduced to guys like Eddie, I was like, Jesus, how was this guy so far ahead of everything else? How so far ahead of everyone around him? And I just wish somebody had presented a more unbiased presentation of Eddie. Said, you know, check out this guy, Eddie Van Halen. But to paint the picture of what it was like back then, you know, here are a bunch of other guys that were also great. Steve just kicks all type of ass. There we go. This is odd. I'm sure it's that gentleman that was that messaged in the thing earlier that wanted me to do a transcription for him. He's literally asked me about transcribing a track that some other random person sent me a transcription of today. So that works for everyone. Everybody wins there. What a small world. Okay, awesome. Bring my face up. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Hope you had a good time. I hope this has inspired you to go and listen to Dixie Dregs. I personally am going to be probably later tonight when I've done. Am I going to do this? Be honest. Let's be realistic here. Am I going to want to play guitar after I've done all this recording? I'm probably going to go and transcribe that guitar solo on The Great Spectacular from Dregs of the Earth. So if you missed the start of the stream and you didn't check out the song The Great Spectacular, go and give The Great Spectacular a spin. That guitar solo is great and spectacular. Some really cool licks in that. So that would be my highlight of the stream because it grabbed me. You know, I was talking to you and then it just started happening and I went, holy shit, sorry, let me listen to this. It was just pulled me away from everything, which was really cool. As always, big thank you to my supporters over on Patreon. If you would like to get your name on that list or just support me for as little as $1. $1! Link in the description. Gets you access to my private Facebook group and all of that good stuff, and a great way to show your appreciation. If you don't want to do that, you can also head on over to Amazon, have a look for one of my books. I have a lot of them available, and yeah, as I always say, they keep a roof over my family's head. So if you would like to give back, then please do consider supporting me by purchasing one of my books. Make sense? Cool. Right. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and an extra special thanks to Nicola. You have really made this stream something special, and I really appreciate that. So thank you very much for participating. You have really brought an additional, how would I put it, air of authority and interest to the subject. So thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you again. Right. Oh, go check out VPix, because, you know, VPix are the best. VPix. Right. As always, guys, much love, and I will see you for another stream soon. Oh, no, one more thing. Sorry, one more thing. I know I did this earlier, but right. Just posted a link in the description to my Discord server, so please do come and join us over on Discord. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, much love. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.